This is a dramatized story inspired by real debt situations. For educational and entertainment purposes only. Not legal or financial advice.
Section 1. Hook. 0 on DOS 30, $73,000 in debt at 41, with a mortgage, 2 kids, and a pink slip sitting on the kitchen table. Marcus Webb had been a construction project supervisor for 14 years. Solid income. Good benefits. He thought he was building something real. Then the company downsized, and in one afternoon, everything he thought he'd built started coming apart at the seams. What happened over the next 6 months, the calls, the fights, the decisions he made, and regrets changed the way he understood money forever. This is his story. Section 2. Reality. 034 Zauch. Marcus was 41 years old, living in a suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. He and his wife Dana had 2 kids, Jalen, 13, and Brianna, 9. They were a normal, middle-class American family doing what everyone told them to do. Work hard, buy a house, build a life. His salary as a construction supervisor had been $68,000 a year. Not rich, but comfortable. Or so they thought. Here's what their finances actually looked like the month he got laid off. Mortgage, $1,620 a month. Remaining balance, $189,000. 2 car payments, $47 and $340 a month. Combined loan balance, $31,200. Credit card debt, 4 cards totaling $28,400. A personal loan Marcus had taken out 2 years earlier to fix the roof and replace the HVAC system, $8,900 remaining. And a medical bill from when Brianna had emergency appendix surgery the previous year, $4,700 that the insurance only partially covered. Total debt, not counting the mortgage, $73,200. On paper, Marcus and Dana had been managing. Barely. Marcus was bringing home around $4,400 a month after taxes. Dana worked part-time as a dental office receptionist, about $1,600 a month. Together, $6,000 a month. Their monthly minimum payments alone came to just over $2,100. Add the mortgage, utilities, groceries, kids' activities. They were spending every single dollar they made. There was nothing left, no buffer, no savings to speak of. Just $1,800 in a checking account that was really afloat, not a cushion. When Marcus came home that Tuesday afternoon in March holding that termination letter, he sat in his truck in the driveway for 22 minutes before he could make himself go inside. He kept doing the math. Over and over, $6,000 in monthly income. Gone, cut nearly in half overnight. Dana's $1,600 wouldn't come close to covering it. Unemployment would bring in maybe $1,900 a month if he was lucky. That's $3,500 coming in against $4,800 going out, and that's before groceries, gas, or a single emergency. He knew the number didn't work. He just didn't know what to do with that knowledge yet. Section 3. Emotional Crisis. 4/7/30. The first week, Marcus kept it together. Or tried to. He updated his resume. He sent out applications. He told Dana it would be fine, that something would come through, that the industry was hiring. He believed some of that when he said it, but by week 3, the calls started. The credit card companies were patient at first, automated reminders, gentle notices. But by week 6, the tone changed. Marcus would be in the middle of a job interview, a phone screen for a site manager position, and his cell would buzz with an unknown number. He'd let it go to voicemail. Then another. Then 3 in one afternoon. He started dreading his own phone. Dana noticed. She wasn't naive. She handled the family's online banking, and she could see the balances. She could see the minimum payments piling up. One evening, after the kids were in bed, she sat across from Marcus at the kitchen table with her laptop open. "We're $800 short this month," she said quietly. Not accusing, just stating. Marcus looked at the ceiling. "I know." "What are we doing about it?" He didn't have an answer. That silence between them was heavier than any argument. Dana closed the laptop. She didn't cry. She was too tired for that. She just said, "I need you to tell me the truth about where we are. All of it." Marcus took a long breath, and for the first time, he laid it out. All of it. The 4 credit cards, the personal loan, the medical bill he'd been paying in $50 installments, the car loans, the mortgage, the real number. Dana sat very still. Then she said, "Why didn't you tell me it was this bad? Because I thought I could fix it before you had to know." That conversation ended the night, but it didn't end the problem. Jalen, their 13-year-old, started asking questions. Why couldn't he do the school trip to DC this year? Why did they cancel the streaming service? Why was Dad home during the day? Marcus tried to protect him from it. But kids pick up on tension in a house. Jalen got quieter. Brianna started having nightmares, and Marcus, a man who had managed crews of 20 people, who had coordinated million-dollar builds, was lying awake at 3 a.m. running numbers that never added up, feeling a shame he couldn't explain to anyone. The collection agency calls escalated by month 2. One of the credit card companies had sold the debt to a collections firm. Marcus would get calls before 8 a.m. and after 8 p.m. Right at the legal boundaries, the collector on one call told him, "You need to make a payment arrangement today or we escalate this to legal." Marcus didn't know what escalate to legal meant. He was scared it meant they could take the house. He Googled it at midnight. He found some things that scared him more. He found some things that didn't make sense. He closed the laptop and stared at the wall. He was 41 years old. He had a family depending on him. And he felt completely, utterly stuck. Section 4. Wrong choices. 7:30 to entitlement. Marcus started making decisions that made sense in the moment and were disasters in the long run. The first mistake, a payday loan. He needed $600 to cover a car insurance payment or risk losing coverage. He found an online lender that approved him in minutes. No credit check, fast funds. He borrowed $600. The fee was $90 for a 2-week term. He figured he'd pay it off when the next unemployment deposit hit. He didn't. He rolled it over. Then rolled it again. By week 6, a $600 loan had cost him over $320 in fees, and he still owed the principal. Annualized, that interest rate was somewhere around 280%. He didn't do that math until much later. The second mistake, a balance transfer. Marcus got a mailer for a credit card offering 0% APR for 18 months on balance transfers. He called, got approved for a $7,500 limit, and transferred one of his high-interest cards over. It felt like progress. It felt like he was managing things. What he didn't read carefully, the 3% balance transfer fee meant he owed $225 immediately. And when he missed a payment 3 months later because there was simply no money, the promotional rate disappeared. The new rate, 26.99%. Now he had 5 credit cards instead of 4. The third mistake, and the one that haunts him most, he raided his 401k. He had about $34,000 saved. He pulled out $12,000 as an early withdrawal. Not a loan, a full withdrawal, to catch up on the mortgage and pay off one of the credit cards entirely. What he didn't fully account for, the 10% early withdrawal penalty plus income taxes on that $12,000. When tax season came, he owed the IRS over $4,100, a new debt. Now he had IRS debt on top of everything else. And the mortgage? He caught it up. But 2 months later, he was behind again. He'd essentially traded $12,000 in retirement savings for a 2-month delay. Dana found out about the 401k withdrawal when the tax bill arrived. That was the worst fight of their marriage. Not loud, quiet. Devastating and quiet. "That was our retirement," she said. "I was trying to save the house. You should have told me first." She was right. He knew she was right. Section 5. Turning point. 10:12 sound. The turning point came on a Thursday night in September, 6 months after the layoff. Marcus had been ignoring a certified mail notice for 2 weeks. He finally opened it. It was a summons. One of the credit card companies, the one that had sold to collections, was filing a civil judgment against him for $9,200. If the judgment went through, they could potentially garnish his wages once he was employed again. Or worse, he sat at the kitchen table and didn't move for a long time. Dana came downstairs and found him there. She looked at the letter. She sat down next to him. And she said something that shifted everything. "Marcus, we can't fix this alone. We've been trying to fix it alone for 6 months and it's getting worse. We need to talk to someone who actually knows what they're doing." The next morning, Marcus called a nonprofit credit counseling agency, a NFCC-affiliated organization he found through a Google search. He was half expecting a sales pitch. What he got was a 1-hour phone session with a certified counselor named Renee, who asked him to list every debt, every income source, and every monthly expense. Renee didn't judge him. She'd heard it all before. What she told him was simple and grounding. You have real options, but you need to stop guessing and start making a plan. She walked him through 3 paths. First, a debt management plan through the credit counseling agency. They would negotiate reduced interest rates with creditors, and Marcus would make one consolidated monthly payment to the agency, which would distribute it. This wasn't a loan. It was a structured repayment program. It would hurt his credit score temporarily, but it was legitimate. Second, debt settlement, negotiating directly with creditors to accept less than the full balance. Risky, Renee cautioned. It damages your FICO score significantly, and forgiven debt can be treated as taxable income by the IRS. Not always the right move. Third, bankruptcy. Specifically, she suggested he consult a bankruptcy attorney to understand whether Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 made more sense for his situation. Chapter 7, she explained, is a liquidation bankruptcy. It discharges most unsecured debts like credit cards and medical bills, but you may have to surrender certain assets. It's typically completed in 3 to 6 months. Chapter 13 is a reorganization bankruptcy. You keep your assets, including your home, but you enter a 3 to 5 year repayment plan. For someone like Marcus, who was behind on his mortgage but wanted to keep the house, Chapter 13 might allow him to restructure that back payment into the plan. I need you to consult a licensed bankruptcy attorney before making any decisions, Renee said. What I'm giving you is a framework. A qualified attorney who handles these cases every day can tell you what actually applies to your specific situation. Marcus wrote everything down. For the first time in 6 months, he had a list of real options instead of a fog of fear. Section 6. Educational info. -12 awen 13 down and sedoin. Here's what Marcus learned, and what's worth understanding if you're in a similar place. Chapter 7. Bankruptcy can eliminate unsecured debt. Credit cards, medical bills, personal loans, relatively quickly. But there's an income means test, and it does appear on your credit report for 10 years. Your FICO score will take a significant hit, but many people begin rebuilding within 12 to 24 months. Chapter 13. Bankruptcy is often called the wage earner's plan. It lets you catch up on mortgage arrears over time, which means you may be able to stop a foreclosure. The repayment plan lasts 3 to 5 years, and it stays on your credit report for 7 years. Debt consolidation, through a legitimate nonprofit credit counseling agency, is different from a consolidation loan. A debt management plan doesn't require new credit. It negotiates directly with creditors. IRS debt is treated separately from consumer debt. If you owe back taxes, an installment agreement or an offer in compromise may be available, but that's a conversation for a tax professional, not a general credit counselor. Collection agencies are bound by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. They cannot call before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m., and you have the right to request written verification of a debt. And please, consult a licensed professional before making any decisions. A bankruptcy attorney consultation is often free, A NFCC-certified credit counselor can be reached at no cost. The information here is for awareness, not legal advice. Section 7, Resolution 13 of 1430. Marcus took Renee's advice. He found a bankruptcy attorney through a referral from the credit counseling agency. The initial consultation was free. After reviewing everything, the debts, the 401k withdrawal, the IRS bill, the mortgage arrears, the pending civil judgment, the attorney recommended Chapter 13. Marcus had just started a new job the week before. A site supervisor role, slightly lower pay than before at $61,000, but steady. That income made him eligible for a Chapter 13 repayment plan. The filing stopped the civil judgment. It put an automatic stay on all collection calls. It gave the mortgage servicer a structured path to catch up on the back payments. It wasn't a clean slate, it wasn't instant. Marcus and Dana knew they were looking at a 3 to 5 year repayment plan, a significant drop in their credit scores, and real lifestyle changes. But the phone stopped ringing at 7:45 in the morning. Marcus slept through the night for the first time in months. He told the version of himself he wishes he could go back and talk to, that the worst part of the whole experience wasn't the debt. It was the silence, the shame that kept him from asking for help for 6 months while things got worse. I thought if I just worked harder, figured it out myself, I could fix it without anyone knowing how bad it was, he said. But debt doesn't care about pride. It just grows. Jalen got to do a different school trip the following year. Brianna stopped having nightmares. Dana and Marcus sat down together every Sunday night to look at the numbers. Together, this time. They weren't out of the woods. They were just finally walking through it with a map. If you're in that place right now, behind on payments, dreading your phone, lying awake, running numbers that don't add up, you're not alone, and you're not out of options. The first step is the hardest. Telling the truth about the number and then telling someone who can actually help. Get the free debt checklist in the description. It walks you through exactly how to inventory your debts, identify which options apply to your situation, and find legitimate, licensed help. Link below.